It is 28 degrees Celsius here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria, just in case you're wondering where it is. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Yes, Amaya Makinde. Welcome to December, the 8th day in the month. And of course, as usual, Maokwe, we're counting down to Christmas. It is 27 degrees here in Lagos as well. It's your daily dose of sunshine, but it was a sunshine that was almost lost over the weekend in Benin Republic, isn't it, Maokwe?
Oh yes, indeed, Ayo. Reports of an attempted coup by coup plotters, but Nigeria also helping to save the day in what we fondly refer to as the 37th state of Nigeria was foiled. We had received news that some military men under the banner of Military Committee for Refoundation had gone to national TV and claimed to have overtaken or overthrown the government of the day, given their own reasons. But in less than a day, you know, that news was turned around as we received a statement. The Minister of Interior Affairs in Benin Republic did a video saying that the coup plotters had been arrested. We understand that about 12 of them were serving military officers, and one of them was an external, had retired, so to speak. But at the end of the day, we also know that Nigeria played a great role in that, as Nigeria was said to have received a note verbal asking for an intervention and help, you know, to make sure that, requesting immediate air support, Nigerian air support, in view of the urgency and seriousness of the situation, and to safeguard the constitutional order, protect national institutions, and ensure the security of the population. And in a statement signed by Mr. Bayo Ononuga, who is a special advisor to the president, we heard that Nigerian armed forces stood gallantly as a defender and protector of constitutional order in the Republic of Benin on the invitation of the government. Armed forces acted within the ambit of the ECOWAS Protocol on Democracy and Good Governance, and they've helped stabilize a neighboring country and have made us proud of their commitment to sustaining democratic values and ideals since 1999. But Ayo, in recent times, this is a dangerous trend that we have now noticed, given the fact that Africa is said to have recorded about 12 coups in less than 5 years. So there are big questions as to what exactly is making coups look attractive again to a continent that we thought had gotten rid of this idea and was at home with constitutional democracies and the idea of elections and handing power from one government to the other, at least in continuation of the people's wills. Whatever it is that is happening needs a very serious examination because for Nigerians, this news came too close to home. And I think that would, necessarily see the intervention or the concern, or more than concern, that Nigeria would have shown in this particular intervention that it eventually undertook. Ayo.
You know, the initiative taken by the government of Benin Republic to send out that note verbal, I think it is something that, that should be understood. First of all, it was a call for help from a next-door neighbor and from a regional champion, so to speak. Now, could this have been done in the various other parts where there have been coups in Africa? Well, I guess time will tell. Your guess is as good as mine, whether or not that could have been done. But another concern that you raised, you raised a very, very valid point, Mark, when you said that, look, it's something that we ought to explore. However, how come these uprisings, if I can use the term, are happening only along the Sahel region? I haven't heard, maybe I lost it, anything like that in anywhere around the East African parts, not even down Southern Africa. So what exactly is happening? I think that question needs to be asked. And there are a number of people who have pointed fingers at the African Union. Is the African Union still relevant? Does the African Union have any teeth? What is the function or the purpose of the African Union? Now, there are those who will reference the fact that OAU, Organization of African Unity, became African Union because of the European Union. Well, we understand that the European Union is serving a lot of economic interests for its people. What exactly is the purpose for which the African Union was set up? I think it's about time we began to make that call, ask those questions. I'm sure some of us are aware, particularly in Africa, that there are certain parts of the world who believe that Africa is just one country. So if we are seen like that, I'm not, whether or not that's a good thing, that's another thing altogether, but we are one continent. We should be speaking with one voice. How come these things are happening? There are also questions that have been raised, Markwell, about the fact that issues of democracy or democratic democratic activities in Africa, they're not really being championed by African heads of state and government. And that is why there is usually that infighting and uprising within the country, with the various countries in which the economic power of the people is not being looked after by anyone else. Even in their country, it seems that they're being put down. So those questions need to be asked. Where is the African Union when all of these things are happening? That and many more questions, Malcolm.
Indeed, a lot of questions, and we will be talking about this coup much later by someone who is a friend of Benin Republic. I mean, he visits quite a number of African countries quite frequently. You know, some of them he has brought to you in terms of his visit. So we'll be visiting that conversation much later in this program. But then we are going to be talking about security within Nigeria this morning. And in the last couple of weeks, we have seen governors across the different divides of the country meeting. First, we saw the southern governors have their own meeting in Ogun State. Then later on, we saw the governors of the north also having their own meeting as well. In recent times, we all know that Nigeria has been challenged way before now. But in recent times, it has been particularly challenged, especially after it was declared a country of particular concern by the United States. And we saw the wave of, upheavals that happened in certain areas with school children being abducted in Kebbi State and much later in Niger State. Yesterday, there was some news, some helpful news that 100 of the children abducted in Niger State have now been returned. So that brings to about 150 children that have been accounted for. But it still leaves another 150 plus or so who are still within the, the captivity of their captors. And there are big questions as to what exactly is happening with those children. So we've been seeing those activities around the security sphere. We saw also worshippers being abducted in Kwara State, later on farmers being killed, upheavals in certain areas in the middle belt of the country. And so the meetings by the governors were not anything out of the ordinary. It's the kind of activity that we ought to see. And the communique was read by the governor of Ogun State, who also happened to be the host governors, talking about how they are seeking true federalism and also looking for how to strengthen their grassroots security. So this morning, we're going to let you listen to that track once again to refresh your memory, and then we're going to be going to our guest, who is strongly rooted within the grassroots security network of the southwest of Nigeria, and can give us, an inkling or two in terms of the areas that we ought to be looking at to strengthen, and maybe that could be a blueprint for the rest of the country to follow. So here is a summary of the meeting that the governors of the South had in Ogun State, and then much later I will introduce our guest. Take a listen.
Southern Nigeria now stands at a pivotal moment, marked by rising threats to security, economic pressures, and the urgent need for coordinated leadership. Recent abductions in schools, religious centers, and rural communities across the country demonstrate that no region is isolated from organized criminality or violent extremism. Distinguished colleagues, as we deliberate on the security architecture of southern Nigeria, it is important to state clearly that the creation of state police remains a non-negotiable component of our collective demand for true federalism and effective grassroots security. Our region has consistently advocated for a policing system that is closer to the people, more responsive to local realities, and better equipped to address the rapidly evolving threats that we face. The recent incidents across the country reinforce this urgency. A unified southern position on state police will not only enhance intelligence gathering and early warning capabilities, but also strengthen our ability to secure schools, farmlands, border communities, and critical infrastructure across our states.
Well, this morning we have the distinguished pleasure to introduce our first guest, Chief Gani Adams, who is the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò of Yoruba Land. He joins us virtually this morning. Thank you so much for joining us, Chief Gani Adams. It's good to see you, even though we wish that you would have been in one of our studios. But very interesting times that we have now found ourselves as a country. And there are very, very strong concerns around the area of security. I want to believe that you have listened to the governors of the South, particularly the governor of Ogun State, who delivered the communique, from what the governors had, had in their own meeting. What are your thoughts as to some of the things that he's proposing? True federalism, state policing, strengthening grassroots security. What exactly is missing? Because we've seen that in recent times. This is not the first time we're having this conversation. We even had something at birthed the association we now know as, or the security outfit we now know as Amotekun. And there are questions as to what exactly needs to be done, much more than what the governors have already done in the Southwest.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Agnes family. Firstly, my name is Iba Gani Adams, not former Chief Gani Adams. Where I totally agree with the Southern governors on the basis of we need state police urgently. And state police is one of the content of true federalism. And at the same time, I commend the Southwest governor because they have already taken a position earlier before the Southern governors. Anybody who loves this country will not disagree on state police on the situation we have. Some people always have an opinion that the governors will misuse state police against their political opponents. But my own thought is that let us talk about the protection of life and property first, which is the first responsibility of any government. And when you are talking about partisan politics, that's secondary aspect of life and governance. We are talking of life and property to be protected by the government, who are constituted authorities. And the major factors and the major impediments we always have about security is that The security was not recruited from their state and their community, even in their local governments. And the issue of governance always lies first on locality, from the community, local government, states, and the federal. If the people of the community did not have the opportunity to police and secure their community, bringing someone who is not familiar with the community to come and secure that community, it will be very difficult. I'm from Arigidi, Akoko in Ondo State. We know our history very well. We know the background of the headquarters in our communities. And we know the family that reside there for about 3 generations. So definitely we have an information on some areas and some people who have criminal background. If anything happens in that community, we know how to trace the beginning of that issue. And when we know our forests, and we know when intruders came into our forests. And from that angle, people from community can be recruited to be part of state police. And in a country that have 3 tiers of government, there is no way you can run that country with only one structure of policing. If you don't allow the 3 tiers of government to have their structure of police, there is no way you can have effective security. And for the first time, that the 6 geopolitical zones of this country agree on state police. Even our northern brothers, the northern governors, the emirs, need to agree on state police. And I believe that if the National Assembly legislates on state police and the president sign it to law, the issue of insecurity will be resolved in this country within a period of 6 months. Because although we have our own Amotekun in Southwest, but the power of Amotekun is very, very limited. They did not have the opportunity to carry modern weapons to confront these terrorists. The challenge we are having in Nigeria, beyond thefts and robbery, we are talking of people moving with sophisticated weapons to the extent moving with some machine gun and anti-aircraft weapon in their shoulders. So for you to confront those kind of criminals, you need to be in possession of a modern weapon and even technology in terms of drones and in terms of having the technology to know where they are, to discover them where they are in our forests. One of our problems is that the federal government national forests, we are talking of the federal government national forests. Most of our people in Yoruba land do normally go there. Forest reserve in our area. Most of our people do normally go there. This is the government of federal government. We don't want to intrude to that forest. But these criminals are familiar to that forest. They know how to move from Kogi and move down to Keogun. From there to our border cities in Iwoyi. So they took that advantage to create unnecessary security threats in our region. We are still lucky compared to what is happening in the remaining 5 zones in Nigeria. So definitely all hands must be on deck to prepare for a way to protect our region in Yoruba land.
Well, you had raised a signal a few weeks back. Some people say you had raised an alarm, especially in the wake of what the United States U.S. President Donald Trump had threatened to do for Nigerian Christians or on behalf of Nigerian Christians. You seem to have welcomed that particular support, saying that terrorists had circled the southwest, north central and south region, and that they were waiting for a signal from foreign sponsors to unleash coordinated attacks. It was a press conference which you granted, I think, sometime on the 17th of November. Can you give us, will I say, a status update in terms of what has happened? Is the Southwest still under the threat which you had raised a few weeks back?
Well, definitely we have intel that we have been seriously infiltrated in our region. You know, the buffer zones to the southwest is Coup and Kwara, and the constant attacks on the Yoruba-speaking states, speaking people in Kwara State give us a lot of worry. And Yoruba-speaking people in Kogi State too, because we realize there are three major tribes in Kogi State, the Gala, Igbira, and the Open, which are Yorubas. And we noticed that the attack always comes to the Yoruba people without. We did not pray that it should happen to other tribes in Kogi State. But on the basis of common sense, the attack on the Yorubas people gave us a signal that these people have an agenda, ethnic cleansing agenda against our race. And what happened in Babana and Okeode, and what happened in Iruku in Kwara State, which we lost nothing less than 70 people, and about 38 people was kidnapped in Iruku in Kwara State. Countless numbers of people was kidnapped in about 20 communities within the Babana and Okeode. And a pocket of some kidnapping in some areas in Yoruba land. About 3 days ago, on confirmed report in the social media that a full load of bus going to Abuja was intercepted by these criminals, and the driver of the vehicle was killed instantly. About 18 people was whisked away. Only they just leave one little child, and the rescue team came and picked that child beside the bus. And apart from that, we have intel that some of our community have been infiltrated, especially Lagos, Ondo, Ekiti, and Oyo State. So we have to prepare. As the area of the Kakampo of Yoruba land, by history, traditional defense minister, when the empire was still there, I have to do something to alert my people that we have to be security conscious, and we have to be careful of the strangers or a person who visit our community. If they notice a strange move, they should report to appropriate authorities. And at the same time, the level we have in Nigeria today, we have to let our people know that it is very, very important that if there is an external intervention to make our country secure, is welcome. Because I read it in the newspaper 3 days ago that about 7,000 Nigerians are still in captivity of these terrorists. In Zamfara alone, we have about 6,000 people. And the remaining 1,000 was from about 5 or 6 states in Nigeria. A country that have law and order, a country that has constituted authority, a common criminal, taking the stage of a 7,000 citizens. That signal a lot of concern for a reasonable citizen of this country. And look at what happened in Benin Republic yesterday. Nigeria intervened because we have the capacity. So when we have a country that have the capacity to collaborate with Nigeria to make Nigeria secure, is welcome development. And I believe the president has started the move by constituted a committee to interface with the U.S. government to make sure even U.S. can give us intel about this criminal is welcome. And look at what is happening when European Union was supporting Ukraine against Russia. There was a minor disagreement between U.S. government and the European Union, and the European government threatened them. We stop giving you an intelligence to fight this cause. The European Union moved closer and appeals to the U.S. No, we are not fighting you. We need your intelligence. There's no doubt that the U.S. is one of the police of the world. They have the capability, they have the capacity to help any country if it's on the level of sincerity and cooperation. So what is happening in this country, if care is not taken, if we don't manage it well, if we don't look for a way to flush out this criminal in our country, if there is any problem in the country, who will accept our refugees? Because we have the capacity. That was one of the reasons we assist Benin Republic yesterday. So any country that has the capacity to help us, I believe is a welcome development.
Well, I know that my colleague Ayo has questions for you and who would like to pose them as well. Ayo.
Well, thank you, Mokwe. You know, it's exactly that point that I'd like to start with, sir, on the conversation this morning. It happened very close to home, and as you said, Nigeria intervened. But then there are border communities, and it is a long-held history that it's almost as if the lines between the border lines between Nigeria and Benin Republic are almost like they don't exist, because we pretty much interchange in a number of things. Now, when the coup scare occurred, a good number of Nigerians were saying, this is too close to home. I mean, who was to say that that's not going to happen again in this country? But thankfully, it's rested where it is now. But then you talked about local communities having capacity and all of that. In terms of security, we have local government authorities. We have traditional rulers. So when we hear of insecurity and the threats on the scale at which you are describing, one wonders whether or not the systems that existed back in the day, the formula where people asked questions in communities when they see a stranger, those were the first lines of defense that the people had. Local government authorities had their own security meetings, but it will seem like all of those have kind of diminished now. How significant is the local government authority and the traditional rulers and the traditional leaders, community development associations in the various communities? How important are they in the scheme of things when it comes to security of their communities?
When the traditional rulers have more potentials on their community in terms of security, if I have my way, Nigeria should have 3 structures of policing: federal, state, and local government police. In most of the country, okay, let us take US for example. We have the FBI for federal, we have the state police, and we have the county police. Even in Britain, we have the municipal police, and we have a structure of state police in the UK. So if local government do not have their own policing, there is limits they can do. Most of the security meetings in the local government by the chairman, they will bring different type of structure of security, and they don't have control over their own security in their local government. If there is a community police in the local government or local government police, the traditional rulers and the leaders of the community will recommend men and women of integrity.
Well, I apologize for butting in.
Of that structure of policing.
Gani Adams, I apologize. If you don't mind me butting, I sincerely apologize for butting in. But, you know, the question that I'm asking is not about the formal security systems. By the way, I mean, talking the other time, everybody knows, and I think it's been also been elaborated by everybody else, that it's not just Southwesterners that have been, that are suffering, this insecurity and stuff that we're talking about. It's not also restricted to any religion at that. And the local authorities have a responsibility to protect the people among them. Excuse me, you are not unaware, sir, I'm sure, that the Yorubas have been very, very, very welcoming to virtually every community, every ethnic region that comes into their midst. The question that I'm asking is, there was a system. It was informal, but it was a system that the people in the communities respected. The security agencies respected it as well. The community development associations, it was like the civilians themselves had their own security system. That's the point that I'm making. Do you think that has collapsed, or you think there is a way that we can bring that back into our social consciousness ourselves? I apologize, Iba Gani Adams. I think you may be muted. We still can't hear you. If you can please unmute. Oh, dear.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead. I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Yeah, when you are talking of some community effort without being well structured as a police, there is limit they can do by then. Because I don't know how long we've been running away from reality in this country of putting the structure on ground on the basis of security. If we don't build it on the control of the constituted authority of the local government, there is limit they can do, my brother. And that lies with the demand of the certain governor on the situation of true federalism. If we want to move this country forward, we have to uphold the principle of true federalism. On the issue of true federalism, the structure of police must be controlled by constituted authority. I'm staying in Omolifis too, here. And I know how much we are contributing to secure this estate. And on that normal ground, in any country that have a very good police, you don't need to contribute money to secure your estate. I've traveled to about 58 countries. I know how the system works in that country. The state police or local government police will be in charge of your security in the state, community, even villages, and will be well coordinated. If you notice a security threat in the estate, you will call them immediately and they will respond. The only thing you can have is maybe a guard that will open, maybe a sliced pole that will be an entrance to the estate. And because we couldn't have a very good structure of policing, every landlord association and community try to organize their own security. And I believe that it will be minimal effective to the security of that community without having a structure controlled by the local government, state. We have a federal. What happens in local government, if you have a very good structure of policing in local government, the state police will complement what is the policing in the local government, and the federal police will complement the state police. We have our own law based on the 1999 Constitution. We have exclusive list, concurrent list, and residual. And all the lists must have their own structure of police for Nigeria to move forward. We don't need to be shy away from that. When we continue shying away from that, we continue bringing different strategy that would not work at the end of the day. Look at what has happened to us in the last 9 months in this country in terms of security. The ECOWAS report said about 5,000 lives has been lost to the terrorists or kidnappers, even or we call it bandits, in the entire West African country. And when you are talking of coup federalism, the issue of devolution of power is very, very important, because when there is no job security, there is tendency that in that society you are breeding criminals. When you could not give your citizen a shelter, a minimal way of shelter, there is tendency that you are breeding a criminal. When you could not give a qualitative education, at least minimal to secondary school, and government should assist people that want to further on the education and tertiary institution, there is tendency you are breeding criminal in that society. Even though when we are talking of policing, we should be talking of good governance, how our government can rule us on the basis of good governance, that citizens will be entitled to 3 square meals, and a citizen that does not have a job, the government should make a provision of certain social assistance to them, which that can taking care of them in terms of meal and shelter until when they have opportunity to get a job to do in the country. South Africa as a country, about 57% of South Africa, they are living on the basis of social security. Nigeria as a country have the resources to do that. And if we don't do that, even though we are talking about policing Nigeria, without giving a very good economy that can cushion the effect of the citizen, there will still be a loophole on the issue of security in our country.
Well, certainly there is a very strong link between human security and also the actual security. We have to thank you very much for your interventions this morning. Iba Gani Adams is the Are Ono Kakanfo of Yorubaland. Thank you so much for speaking with us on Sunrise Daily.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll be talking about the attempted coup that nearly happened in neighboring Benin Republic. In just a moment, please stay with us. Well, yes, we're now being joined by Chief Dele Momodu, who is a publisher, politician, and public affairs analyst. He says that he just escaped being in the middle of that coup in neighboring Benin Republic by the whiskers. He loves to go to Benin Republic and has filmed, well, his journeys on more than one occasion, visiting Benin Republic, the sights and sounds, the beauty of the place. And he says it's just a place he loves to go and relax. So the news was really very alarming and shocking for him yesterday. Chief, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I can only imagine just how you must have received that news. And I do not know what relationship, if any, you share with the President, Patrice Talon, and if you have been able to speak with him in the wake of what we now know is an attempted coup. But are you glad that it is now, it only ended as an attempt and that it wasn't successful?
Good morning, Imambe, and thank you for inviting me. Yesterday, to me, was very surreal. I was going to wake up in the morning at 5 a.m. to head straight to Cotonou, have a quick breakfast, and then head out to Lomé, and from Lomé to Ghana. I've done that trip too many times, and it's something I love to do, especially on Sundays, because there will be no traffic. So, but unfortunately, the night before, I had all my international papers, but then I asked my driver for the vehicle particulars, and he only had the photocopy. I wasn't comfortable with that. I searched everywhere, my 2 offices in Lagos. I searched in the night, and maybe around 11 or thereabouts, I decided that, look, we must abort the trip. I called my friend, Rotimi Obe. We were traveling together. The man who speaks French and lives in Benin Republic is actually from Benin, and Alex Damilda was already in town to accompany us through the journey. Then, when I couldn't get the papers, I called everybody in the middle of the night. I said, I'm sorry, we won't be able to make the trip. And that was what saved us. I was born in an Adura church, so I believe in spirituality. And I believe that somehow God must have intervened, because we would have been right inside Benin Republic at the time this melodrama was ongoing. And my car has Nigerian plate number, so which means easily I'll be identified within the community. But as God will have it, we missed that. I'm happy that they were able to foil the coup, as someone who had fought the military dictatorship in the past in my own country. It was a welcome development. When I escaped from Nigeria on July 25th, 1995, I escaped through Semeboda into Cotonou, from where I went to Lome, crossed the Aflao border into Ghana, and from Ghana to England, where I will live for the next 3 years. So it's for me, it brought back sad memories that, I thought, democracy has taken root in Africa, but it seems that we're going backwards, which is very unfortunate. But let's thank God that it was quickly aborted.
Well, I did ask a second question intertwined with that, which is whether or not you have any relationship with the president of Benin Republic, and if you have been able to speak with him.
Oh, no, I have no direct relationship with him, but I do a lot of things in Benin. My job is public relations related. I used to have an office in Cotonou. Of course, I know some of their political leaders and interacted with them. Unfortunately, I don't have any direct relationship with them. I go there like I used to in the past. Yes, I knew most of their leaders and I interacted with them.
So have you been able to speak with those people whom you know, particularly in the political class, to get any feelers of what they made, what actually transpired yesterday?
I think the few people I've spoken to are very shocked. They never expected it because, and I'm being very, very truthful, the last 2 times I've been in Cotonou, I've seen a lot of transformation, transfiguration of the country. The country, within a few years under President Talon, has witnessed rapid development. The sort that even sometimes I ask, how did they manage to do this with their limited resources? So he's a gentleman who has done well. The complaints usually amongst the ordinary citizens is that, like we say in Nigeria, stomach infrastructure, we're still very poor. It's not roads we're going to eat. It's not infrastructure that should be prioritized, that there should be social services and all that. So, but I believe he has laid a good foundation for the country, and the military should try and calm down and not destroy that. Because this is going to scare people away. At the moment you start hearing about coups, nobody wants to hear about coups.
Indeed, Benin Republic has now had its democracy for 35 years and counting. And, we've seen, democratic handover of governments from one leader to the other, as opposed to some countries, even along the West African region, where we've seen sit-tight leaders. I'm just a little curious, though. Do you think that in the event, now that this coup has been foiled, does it really spell stability for the shaken country that is our neighbor?
Our president, Patrice Talon, I must tell you, is a very strong leader. Very, very strong. Maybe comparable to President Paul Kagame of Rwanda. So I believe he's going to clamp down on the coup plotters, and maybe this will further stabilize his country. I don't know. But I pray that is able to use all the wisdom he can muster to bring everybody together in his country. Unity is key. In a situation where there is no unity, then these coup attempts will continue to happen. And don't forget that several of the Francophone countries that we use to describe them, I know a lot of them now are trying to detach themselves from France, right now are under military grip. So that may be the attraction to the coup plotters that, hey, okay, why can't we have, what is happening in Burkina Faso, in Mali, and other places. So, but Benin Republic being so close to Nigeria, for me, that was too close for comfort. I saw a statistic that says that Benin is populated by about 40% of Nigerians, and a lot of those Nigerians are Yoruba-speaking people. What we used to call the people, around Badagry and some of them in the Okeogun, So, in fact, majority of their leaders speak Yoruba. You'll be surprised. Their former president, who I know quite well, Professor Yayiboni, speaks, Yoruba, and they are very, very much close to Nigeria. And you can see President Patrice Talon is very close to our own President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Nigeria, and that's why I believe Nigeria must have jumped at the opportunity to assist him yesterday in sending our Air Force bombers and everything.
Well, I know that Ayo also has questions for you. Ayo.
Well, thank you, Mark. Well, Chief, there's just one question that I asked earlier. On the one hand, many of these the coups that we've had happen on the, should I say, the upper part of the African continent, and the lower part seem to be coasting easy with their democracies and all of that. So on the one hand, what is that saying something to us? And secondly, there are those who have been wondering, and in all of these, military takeovers and interventions and all, nothing significantly has been heard from the African Union, leading to the question whether or not the African Union has teeth, or it's just a club of friends. Chief, could you kindly unmute?
Unmute?
Yes, please go ahead. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay. So, the truth is that we love in Nigeria to speak about, we're a sovereign nation, nobody should interfere in our affairs. Yes, the African Union, I'm sure they will speak by today. Yesterday was Sunday, so I'm not sure if anyone was at work. I'm sure they will speak today, but it will just be the usual diplomatics, and there's not much they can do. The intervention of Nigeria today is still quite sketchy, so I don't know what happened, who prompted it. They are saying that President Talon requested for help from Nigeria, so that is going to be a bit controversial. If you go on Twitter, X, platform, you will see a lot of people complaining that what is the business of Nigeria in intervening and bombing people who they described as revolutionaries on Twitter. I don't know if they were revolutionaries or just military adventurers, So I don't know what African Union can do. You can see that even when our president spoke about intervening in the Niger Republic the other time, nothing came of it. At the end of the day, we just spoke and we couldn't do anything. So I'm sure we have to wait for this week to hear what the citizens will be able to say about what happened in the Republic. What we're hearing so far is from the angle of the government. So, but we're hoping that the opposition, for example, in the Republic, will be able to speak and let us know what exactly is ongoing in their country. For now, everything is sketchy.
All right, well, that's one. But how about the fact that, okay, maybe one other question we should be asking is is there any comparison then, in your opinion, from what you know, between the African Union and the European Union? The European Union is of course, said to be an economic power bloc, and it's like there are rules that every nation member, or rather every member nation of the EU, have to line up with. Do you see that kind of thing happening in Africa? And do you see that being capable of forestalling such military pushes from time to time?
You see, even at the level of ECOWAS, the unity we love to trumpet, for me, is just fake unity. There should be no reason why I should be driving through Aflao or through Ilakoji in Togo or through, all the other parts of West Africa, and I need a passport. We should be able to drive through like we do in Europe, I believe the African Union leaders will need to do better than they are doing right now. A lot of times in the past, before President Talon came, we had a lot of roadblocks between Nigeria and Benin Republic. So, and it discouraged a lot of us from traveling by road. We should be able to travel freely and enjoy and do business and, if possible, have the so-called common currency that they've always talked about. But nothing of the sort has happened. It's always about the jamboree of just holding African Union summits here and there. So your question is very germane. But I will say not much has been achieved by them. If you look at what President Gaddafi tried to do when he was head of the government in Libya, same thing with the GFO, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. They wanted an African Union that will have, similar passports, similar currencies, but nearly 60-something years after the GFO, not much has happened to them. It's still the usual summits. Let's just hope that maybe we will sit up, because it will help if they have a kind of cooperation and collaboration between the African countries. It will really, really help. And then maybe that would discourage further coups in Africa.
Well, if there's anything we do not want to see, it's certainly more coups on the African continent. We sincerely hope that that will be something that the multilateral institutions can take very seriously, and that African countries also take seriously themselves. We have to thank you very much for sharing your personal experience and intervening on this particular matter. Thank you very much for speaking with us, Chief Dele Momodu. He is a politician, a publisher, and also a public affairs analyst. Thank you once more, Chief.
Thank you so much, Maokwe Anayo. Thank you.
Well, that's how we draw the curtains on today's program. Thank you so much for watching and being a part of it. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Do have a productive week. Business Morning is next.